Delta Labs Sector 3 contains the second-generation transfer platforms able to teleport variable distances to small portable receiving platforms. Test chambers must be reserved prior to experimentation. All access is under security observation. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the UAC Mystery Science Theater production play, and we have arrived at the third sector of the Delta Complex Labyrinth, and we can see Dr. Betruger and his two henchmen walking through a hallway, menacingly. The action of this level doesn't exactly start up until we have to head towards that little security booth over there, and the security guard appears to be absent, so I'd better go inquire as to where he is. Oh, there he is, never mind. Also be a little bit careful at the start here because that commando pops out of the closet, along with two other bodyguards with him. There's one that just sort of sits back there not doing a whole lot. The other guy will actively pursue you, and both are machine gun variants, so you probably want to avoid getting shot by them. Destroy the bridge, apparently. This may be a huge problem, but don't worry. I will solve all of my problems with this chainsaw right here. Because chainsaws are glorious. I mean, I could probably just, saw through the window right here as well, if I really wanted to get over to that bridge that they destroyed. Maybe. That'd be nice. Maybe I could do that. On the other hand, I'll probably be here all day trying to make that attempt, so instead we're going to raid yet another bathroom. This is probably the scariest bathroom in the game because it has that shotgunner over there. And you may not have been able to see him at first, but he was definitely a shotgunner. And that guy who appears behind you, I sort of forgot about him briefly, but then I remembered by the time he hit me with his tentacle. And since this is an area with working mirrors, you can actually see what our view model looks like when we hold the BFG 9000 out. It's a little bit dark, but there you go. You can see we got BFG 9000 right here. I'm never going to use this weapon throughout this entire level. That's the only time you're going to see it. Hello! How nice of you to drop in. Oh god, so this level has a lot of windows, and typically when it comes to windows aplenty in this game, then that usually means that there's going to be a lot of special high graphics effects, and that also means that when you're recording the game with fraps, it's going to cause some frame rate problems. However, to compensate for this, they give you a ton of rocket launcher ammo in this level, which is delightful. This is pretty much Bazooka Joe fanservice territory right here, so I want to be sure to collect as many rockets as possible, and subsequently use as many rockets as possible. And I believe if you inspect one of these offices, after a short amount of time, an imp should spawn right over there. So I'm just gonna wait this out, and in the meantime, show you the storage room. D3, and we cannot access this, but you see that little circle pad over there? I want you to keep that in mind. That's actually a fairly important detail. There's going to be a reason as to why we have to head back to this place. Not necessarily a good reason, but a reason nonetheless, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Destroy him! His soul will be mine, above all things. I will also like to offer him some delightful cupcakes by the end of this journey. Oh, hey, you're still standing. How about that? So, now we have the first encounter with the decontamination chamber, and in order to access the decontamination chamber, we have to go hit a button. Also, we want to inspect our PDA, because we don't have this guy's PDA yet. Didn't quite mean to hit tab there. And cycle the chamber. As soon as you cycle the chamber, that will cause an imp to spawn in that room over there. I'm also going to grab some health. And he's going to cause the frame rate to dip if I stare at that location, so instead, I'm just going to let him raid the office himself. And look up at that balcony, because that commando is going to be dropping in to say hello. Boom. And with that, let's enter the decontaminator. Spend a good, maybe 5 to 10 seconds standing in the decontaminator. And then leave. Also be very careful once you exit this decontaminator, because there's this imp around the corner. He's essentially impossible to avoid, unless you fire a rocket or toss a grenade in that general direction. Also, be careful because there's a groany sound. There's actually a chain gun commando somewhere up there. You might not be able to see him just yet. But first of all, we have a couple of storage cabinets to unlock, and these correspond with the PDA we collected in the decontamination room office. And they belong to a Mr. Han Lee, who is probably the chief of security in this place, and he wanted to make sure these cabinets were secure. So, the secure code for these security cabinets is 836, and if you want to be extra specially secure, because this one has rockets in it. Lots of rockets. As soon as you open this door, I want you to look towards that door. Like, just look at it. And once you step forward and step backwards, that guy will spawn. I pretty much always forget about the existence of that guy, but this time I remembered. Now you have permission to angle your rocket launcher up in the direction of where that chain gun commando is at, and fire a couple rockets in his direction, and that should take care of business. So, we have a teleporter pad over here, and we haven't seen one of these in a little bit of time, but as you may recall, we pretty much traveled through what was a meat grinder, Hell's Meat Processing Plant, and in order to get to the balcony, we could maybe take the teleporter, or we could take the stairs, which has an imp over here. However, my character, I doubt he'd be able to squeeze through this massive whatever this is right here. So instead, let's just opt to take the teleporter, because it's cool, ergo, all the more reason to teleport long distances. And by that I mean it's actually a fairly short distance. We have 2 teleport pads we can select right here. The first one will literally take you a few feet away from the entrance, which is that area over there. And we also have the balcony, which is where we want to be. By the way, once you activate the teleporter sequence and you look away from the computer screen, your view model gets incredibly stretched out and it looks pretty hilarious. So let's get a move on. Be careful of the spooky scary skeleton. It is technically possible, by the way, to kill a revenant in a single shot with the shotgun, but there I sort of messed it up. I was kind of misaiming that, so maybe I'll be able to pull it off at some point or another, but it is clearly not this day. So I will retreat back to the tactics of using the bazooka.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Patience with you is wearing thin.
Well, my patience with you is very much still present because you have such a delightful voice. Take that. Storage! D3, D2, something. Watch out, because R2 is in there. R2 is security recon, who's just kind of standing there guarding the boxes. If you mess with this health station, that causes the demons to get angry, and they send an imp after your soul, which will be Betrugger's in due time. Unless you don't allow it, in which case, I don't know, but Betrugger seems like a pretty stand-up guy. I would give him my soul, if I so desired.
Look around you, Marine. Everyone is dead, and soon you will join them.
Okay, so as soon as he gets that bit of dialogue out of the way, they're going to spawn 3 enemies. There's this skeleton in front of you, and there are 2 imps in the general area. There's one down here, and there should be one just over here. Now, that's not so bad at first, but if you want to make things extra scary, you could probably just go ahead and raid the security station immediately, collect this adrenaline power-up, and open the locked doors, because that causes 2 commandos to spawn. One is a chain gun commando over there-ish, and they're still going. Okay, that's kind of impressive. Die. And this tentacle commando over here. Boom! Man, I'm getting better at headshotting these guys, I've noticed. Don't worry, guys, I'm learning from my previous mistakes. However, I will still occasionally break out my chainsaw, just for the hell of it. Also, be very careful, because there is one of those security guards over there, and he's got a machine gun, I believe. I could probably just kill him with my pistol, because I have the advantage of cover, and he does not. I mean, technically, he could have hit me right there, but the machine gun, as you may know, is pretty horrible at accuracy when it comes to lengthy distances, so yeah, I sort of concede with that point right there. Also, watch out when the lights go out, because Betrugger tries to scare you. I mean, they've tried using this tactic a lot of times already, but it's just not plain effective as it used to be earlier on in the game. Like, I find a strong point about Doom 3's beginning is that as an action horror shooter game, I found it had a pretty solid start. But then, they just sort of start using the exact same scares over again, and it just kind of gets cheesy at that point. Don't enter this little office, by the way, because that's going to cause a zombie to spawn. However, you can sort of glitch his AI by shooting through this window. If you hug the window, then he may possibly shoot you with his weapon. Or if you crouch, I believe. Just because his weapon is just propped in a weird way, and he only tries to hit you if certain things are met. Conditions is the word I was looking for. Yeah. If certain conditions are met, he'll shoot you straight through the wall, and being hit by chain gun bullets is not very helpful to your health. So, don't try it. Okay, so once we exit out of this crawl space, if you head towards the storage and that room over there, which we need to go to, that's going to cause this guy to get mad. So, just give him the whole business with the chainsaw, and cycle the decontamination chamber. Entering the storage is actually fairly harmless at first. It's got a couple of explosive barrels which are guarding some pieces of armor. However, enclosed is an enemy spawn once you destroy them. So, just bear that one in mind so that way you can get rid of the imp who comes in to say, "Hello, how you doing? I'm an imp. It's so good to be an imp today, man." And I would agree. I would agree, I would love to have the ability to cast fireballs at will. However, I also like the ability to carry as many guns as possible. There are two different routes we could take. We could go to the right, which has a skeleton, or we could go to the left, which has an imp. I'll leave it to you be the judge on which one is considerably safer. I'm also going down here because there's just a bunch of items, and this teleporter pad, which is basically pointless, so I wouldn't recommend taking that one on the nearest teleporter which we will be traveling through. And I'm gonna kill this guy with my chainsaw, because it's been a while since I did this to a Revenant. There we go. I always gotta fit one of those in once in a while, and in fact, you know what, let's attack the other one with our chainsaw too. Great punch and skills. You're an excellent kickboxer in a previous life. However, your life has been forfeit by my decisions and my diplomacy of chainsawing people to death, because I don't know how to use words. I cannot possibly communicate verbally. All I really have is just his chainsaw. Now, we have 3 different pads we could take. Pad 1 main will get us absolutely nowhere, which is the teleporter pad at the bottom floor, as I was just demonstrating. Pad 2 takes you where you need to go, and Pad 3 also takes you where you need to go. And since Pad 3 is a storage room, oh boy, you're gonna love this one, because it has a box of chain gun ammo, and a door which can only be opened from this side. Also has some cells if you desperately need those. However, I'm probably not gonna really be using the plasma rifle all that much in this level, just because I prefer breaking out some of the bigger guns, because I'm a manly man who uses rocket launchers, and watch out for that guy. So, at first, it's fairly innocent. It only spawns that tentacle commando. However, once you make a little bit of progress, that's going to cause that skeleton to appear over there, who shatters the window, and that chain gun commando as well, who I missed. But any second now, he should be dead. There's also, I believe, a second chain gun commando who's sort of taking cover behind those boxes, although he's not doing the greatest of jobs at it because he's exposing half of his body, and there's a man just sort of standing there in the kitchen. He could have been a civilian, you never know, but obviously he was aligned with the demons, because they were neglecting to shoot at him, so obviously he was a traitor, and I feel no mercy for traitors. Wow, so many people just dropping in to say hello. I mean, look at how far he came from. Come on. That's just very considerate of him. If he came all the way from the other side of the base just to meet me, Mr. Marine. And I mean, the bridge being out, that's a detail. Boom! There we are! Headshotting a Revenant with the shotgun, just to demonstrate it's viable, one way or another. This guy, however, I wouldn't recommend you rush forwards. I would recommend you sort of just kind of take a step back and think about your options, about what you would do if a man suddenly tried to pounce towards your face and give you a hug. So we have one final decontamination chamber to go through, and there's a little office door over there, but unfortunately, even though it says it's open, it's just a lie. They don't like Marines, they only like scientists. So instead, we must head straight for the decontamination chamber activation button room, which is in a bit of an odd location. It's all the way down here. It's a bit of an odd distance from the actual decontamination room itself. It's aligned pretty perfectly, but I don't know, you have to constantly climb a ladder to get up and down out of this place, and what if the person is paraplegic? I'm taking these things into consideration, guys. So let's go ahead, cycle the chamber, and leave, because that is going to cause the security team to come in and clean up the damage. And we both tend to have a hard time hitting each other, so just shoot as many rockets as possible. I mean, like I said at the beginning, this level is essentially rocket launcher fan service heaven. Do not worry about wasting all of your rockets, because there's probably at least 30 in reserve somewhere around the level. So, yeah. With that being said, let's not get decontaminated, because the system is full of bugs today, it seems. And in a moment, we should see Dr. Petruga! He is entering the teleporter! And I wanted to see him teleport, although I think I may have missed it, so I'm just gonna have my ass handed to me by this guy. And in a moment, that should spawn his brother over there, who is armed with a minigun, so just wait for him to round the corner, shoot him with a couple of missiles, and there you go. Take some of them missiles. Also, be careful, because there's a skeleton around this corner. Oh yeah, I guess that also spawns an imp in the closet, but he's not so much of a concern. I guess the guy appearing from the decontamination chamber might be a little more scary, but I'm gonna ignore him for just a minute, because I want to show you this little pad station over here, which lists 4 teleporter pads which we could take. And some of them are more useful than others. So, let's begin by heading to security. Pad 1 exit is the exit of the level. We don't want to go there just yet. Pad 4 hallway is pretty much back at the start of the level. Pad 2 security is a locked security station that we could not access. And you may have noticed it a few minutes ago. It had some cells inside of it. So, if you're a plasma rifle enthusiast, you could certainly pick this up. However, in order to leave, we need to see Dr. Schultz about this. I'm trapped in here. Where on earth could I possibly find Dr. Schultz's PD? Oh, there it is. Never mind, let's try that again. Nah, it's no problem whatsoever. So, that teleporter destination is pretty harmless. I question why you would have a teleporter leaving it to a security booth, but then again, that's just the way the UAC designs things. It was an experimental phase of teleportation at the time. I guess they wanted to have teleportation access for just random people to get to random places in the base, maybe to spook some of the civilians. Who knows? And next we have Pad 3 storage, and this is a stupid teleporter. I hate this one, because remember that storage room all the way back at the start of the level? Guess where you end up, and oh hey, the door is inexplicably open, because we took the teleporter. There's no other reason, otherwise this door will never open if you waste time standing in front of it at the start of the stage. And the only thing you really benefit from entering this area is by getting this storage cabinet open, and even then, it's still sort of questionable. The code for this belongs to a Mr. Frank Serrano, who we found his PDA here in the office, I believe. And the code for this one is 841. In the event where you needed more rockets for your rocket launcher. It's definitely there. So, since we're all the way back at the start of the level, I'm gonna save you the pain of watching me trek all the way back to the exit of the level. And we have arrived back at the teleporter pad, so, as I was saying earlier, you want to select Pad 1 to exit this place, and let's go ahead and do it. We're almost at the end of the level, ladies and gentlemen. Woohoo! Beat Grinder! Yay!
Making progress, Marine? Your journey is futile. You will die, and your soul will be mine.
I want to give this guy a hug. So before we actually exit the level, I wish to share with you a little story, an anecdote you might say. Because there was this one time where I was playing the game, you see, and I was doing a nightmare run. The very first nightmare run and the last nightmare run I subsequently did. And I decided to try and complete this level as quickly as possible. And I think I somehow managed to skip a trigger which causes a couple of NPCs to disappear, because by the time I arrived at this area, Betrugger was just standing here. Like over here, him and his two henchmen, they were just kinda chilling. And I don't really know if this is possible to replicate the results of, but I want someone to confirm this. Like, try beating the level as quickly as possible, don't stop for anything. Because I need to know if I'm going crazy or not. I can only assure you that I was not using cheats. It was just one of those odd things I encountered once, and never saw again. With all of that said, let's open the bay door, and exit Sector 3 of the Delta Labs. Let's move on to Delta Labs 4.